My family left me out of Christmas. Called it a misunderstanding. After years of footing bills and chasing approval, I finally got the message. I stopped knocking and built a life without them. Sorry, I think you have the wrong house. That's what my mom said. Stood right there on the porch in her Christmas apron, pine wreath on the door, and told me I was a stranger, like I was trying to sell her magazine subscriptions or ask for spare change. First, I thought she was joking. That kind of dry, passive-aggressive humor she was known for at church potlucks. But when she didn't flinch, didn't even smirk, I felt something shift in my chest, something quiet and sharp. I just blinked, nodded once, and turned around. Snow crunching under boots I'd bought for her last year. I'd flown 3 states for that visit. Left work early. Bought gifts. Paid the heating bill for that house in November because I'd gotten a voicemail from my brother saying, "Things are tight right now, man. Could use your help." So yeah, it hit different. I didn't say a word. Just walked back to my rental car, gripping the little foil-wrapped present I'd picked up at the airport gift shop. My brother called me less than 10 minutes later. "Don't be upset," he said, like he was trying to soothe a child who lost a balloon. "You know we couldn't let you in." I said one word back, "Understood." Then came the part that kicked me right in the gut. He didn't hang up all the way. I heard his voice, light and smug, talking to someone, probably his wife. He still thinks helping with rent means he's automatically included. That was it. That was the moment I went still inside. Like someone had pulled the plug and drained the warmth from my bones. It wasn't anger, not yet. It was something colder, something final. I canceled the automatic rent transfer, blocked every card they had access to, and by morning, my phone lit up with 54 missed calls. Merry Christmas. Funny thing about betrayal, it doesn't come in like a thunderstorm. It's quiet. It seeps in. You notice the draft before you realize someone left the door open on purpose. The drive back to the airport that night felt longer than the flight. Every exit sign looked familiar and foreign at the same time. I kept thinking maybe I misheard my mom. Maybe she had said something else. Maybe my brother's voice had been distorted. Or I'd imagined the laughter behind his words. But then I remembered Thanksgiving. Last year. I wasn't invited that time either. But they said it was because there were too many people and not enough chairs. I believed them. That was on me. This time, though, being told to my face that I had the wrong house, that wasn't a misunderstanding. That was math. They didn't see me as a son or a brother. They saw me as a utility company. Heat, groceries, rent, automated, invisible. A monthly act of love they never had to acknowledge. And love? Love had terms and conditions in our family. One missed payment, and suddenly you're not included. I got back to my place in Chicago around 2 a.m., tossed the unopened gift on the counter. It was just a mug. Really navy blue with gold script that said home is where your family is. I laughed out loud when I saw it. That bitter kind of laugh that sounds more like coughing. I hadn't slept in over 24 hours, but I opened my laptop anyway. Logged into the bank portal. Saw the payments I'd made all year. Rent, $1, $600 a month. Groceries, monthly deliveries to their door. Gas bills. Even a new refrigerator back in July. Total, $22,484.97. I'd sent them almost $23,000 this year, and somehow still didn't qualify for a seat at the holiday table. Tell me how that math works. That night, I wrote an email I never sent. Addressed it to my mom. Subject line, the wrong house. I wrote about being 12 and selling candy bars door to door, while she told her bridge club that I was our little tax write-off. About missing my high school graduation because they had a thing that came up. About the first time I sent money thinking maybe, just maybe, it would make them look at me like family. I never hit send. But I saved it. Because writing it down made it real. And I needed real more than I needed closure. The next morning, I woke up to more missed calls. 76 in total. Then the text started. "You're overreacting. It was just a joke. Can we talk? Please don't do this to your mother." To my mother. Like she hadn't done it to me first. And then, at 9:41 a.m., A text from my brother. You know this is just how she is. Come on, man. Don't be dramatic. That word. Dramatic. It always meant stop feeling what you're feeling because it's inconvenient for us. He used it when I cried at Dad's funeral because I was the only one not drunk. He used it when I called after my apartment was broken into and I needed help. Said he was too busy to talk. But this time I didn't respond. Instead, I called my landlord. Asked if I could transfer the lease out of my name, said my roommates weren't paying me back. He said sure, no problem. I emailed over the termination form and copied my mom, my brother, and even my aunt just for good measure. 2 hours later, my phone rang again. Blocked number. I answered out of habit. Are you serious right now? It was my brother. You canceled the rent? You're really gonna make us homeless over a miscommunication? I stayed silent. Then he said something that, well, it might have been the first honest thing he said in years. I told Mom you'd snap eventually. I just didn't think it'd be this soon. Snap. Like I was a rubber band waiting to break. No, man. I wasn't snapping. I was cutting loose. You know, I said I used to think if I gave enough money, help, forgiveness, I'd earn a place at the table. But it turns out the invitation was never coming. So I'm done. Pay your own rent. Call your own utility company. And next Christmas, don't worry about forgetting to send me an invite. You already made it clear who belongs in your house. He didn't say anything. Just hung up. That night, I blocked all their numbers. And then I sat in the dark with my phone on Do Not Disturb and my apartment heater humming in the background, wondering what kind of person I had become. Was I cold? Spiteful? Maybe. Or maybe I was just tired of banging on a locked door, hoping they'd remember I existed. Day 3. That's when the silence broke in the loudest way possible. It was a voicemail from my aunt, Mom's sister, the family historian, queen of casserole diplomacy. She never called me unless someone died or someone wanted something. Hey, sweetheart, her message began. I just wanted to check in. Your mom's, well, she's pretty shaken up. She says you misunderstood something and everyone's a little on edge right now. On edge? Interesting way to describe being evicted from the house you lied to stay in. I'm not taking sides, she continued, which is what people always say before picking a side. But you know your mom. She doesn't always say things the right way. Maybe just hear her out. I didn't call her back. I didn't need to. Because later that day, she posted a vague, passive-aggressive Facebook status. It's funny how the ones you help the most turn on you the fastest. #family drama, #heartbroken. Classic. Then my brother's wife messaged me directly. We hadn't spoken in over a year since I declined their baby shower invitation and sent a gift card instead. Hey, I know things are weird right now, but the kids are asking about you. They miss their uncle. Their kids were 3 and 5. They barely knew my name. Still, that one got me. For a second, I stared at the message and felt that old ache, that desperate little voice that whispered maybe there's still something worth saving. But then I remembered Christmas Eve, standing outside in the cold while my family laughed inside. Remembered hearing my brother treat me like a bank with a heartbeat. I didn't respond. I archived the message and turned off chat. But ignoring a fire doesn't stop it from spreading. By the end of the week, I'd gotten a letter, yes, an actual letter from my mom. Her handwriting was unmistakable. Long, loopy script on cream-colored stationery like she was writing from a Victorian estate. I don't know what you think happened, but I would never turn you away out of cruelty. I was caught off guard. I didn't recognize you at first. Didn't recognize me? I'd seen her squinting through the window before she opened the door. She looked right at me. No confusion. Just calculation. Then came the kicker. If you're truly going to stop helping us over a misunderstanding, then I suppose we need to reconsider our relationship moving forward. Reconsider our relationship? Lady, you locked the door. I just took the hint. By the start of week 2, the story had warped into something unrecognizable. Apparently, I had abandoned the family. I was lashing out due to unresolved childhood issues. And the real gem, courtesy of my cousin's Instagram comment section, was that I was going through a mental health crisis. Isn't it wild how quickly people will write your reality for you? All I did was stop giving. They turned it into an act of war. The best part? They didn't even reach out to me. No, they talked around me. Like kids whispering about the ghost in the attic. I became this shadow version of myself, exaggerated and dramatized to suit whatever narrative made them feel better about what happened. I didn't exist as a person anymore. I was a problem to explain. The group chat, which I hadn't muted because, well, curiosity is a powerful drug, blew up after someone noticed I'd quietly left. Did he leave because of what happened at Christmas? It's not our fault he took it that way. Honestly, he's always been a little too sensitive. That last one came from my brother. That's when I did something petty. Not proud of it, but I won't lie, it felt good. I changed the Netflix password. You would have thought I cut off their electricity. 3 minutes after the change, a text from my brother. Dude, seriously? This is childish. I replied with just 2 words. Not included. He didn't write back. Later that night, I poured myself a whiskey and looked through some old photos I hadn't touched in years. Scanned through birthdays, holidays, forced smile vacations. I was always off-center in the frame like an afterthought, always holding the camera or setting the table or standing slightly behind someone taller. You ever stare at a picture of your own childhood and feel like a stranger in it? It hit me right there in my quiet apartment. The weight of it all. I'd been trying to buy a place at that table for years. Trying to earn affection like it was a subscription I couldn't quite afford. Turns out you can't negotiate love. Not with money. Not with favors. It's either given freely or it's not real. And I was finally starting to believe it hadn't been real for a long time. It was a Sunday. I was 2 bites into leftover Thai, wearing the same sweatpants from Friday, when my phone buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. I let it go to voicemail. Then I listened. It was a reporter. Local news. Said she was following up on a family story someone had shared with her. Wanted to get my side. I nearly choked on my noodles. Turns out, my mom had written a heartfelt letter to a human interest columnist at the paper. Something about losing a son to distance and pride. How families today don't talk anymore. And how one misunderstanding tore them apart. She painted herself as the grieving mother. Said I disappeared. Unprovoked. After years of her doing everything she could. Even included a blurry photo of me from high school, yearbook headshot, braces and all. I stared at the article online, hands shaking. Not with rage. With disbelief. Because the worst part? People believed her. The comments section was a mess of sympathy and outrage. Kids these days have no loyalty. Sounds like that boy needs therapy. Not punishment. Maybe he was never taught respect. No one asked why I'd left. No one asked what led up to it. They just saw a crying woman and an empty seat at the dinner table. My brother posted the link, too. Captioned it, "Still love you, man. Doors always open." As if he hadn't helped slam it shut. I didn't respond publicly. I thought about it. Typed out a whole statement twice. Deleted it both times. Because truth is, anything I said would have sounded bitter. Defensive. And that's not the story people wanted. They wanted the runaway son, the poor mother, the holiday tragedy. But privately, I wasn't staying quiet. I called the reporter back. Told her, calmly, that the story she ran was missing 99% of the facts. I didn't ask for a retraction. Didn't threaten anything. I just said, if you ever want the real version, I'll be here. But it's not the kind of piece you put next to the weather and crossword puzzle. She didn't call again. That night, I took that old family photo off my bookshelf. The one where we're all pretending to be happy, all pretending I belong, and I slid it into the trash. Didn't break it. Didn't burn it. Just let it go. It started with a knock on my apartment door. Not a text. Not a call. Not even a warning. Just knock knock. I froze. You ever have a moment where your heart beats so hard it feels like your body's trying to warn you before your mind catches up? I looked through the peephole. It was my dad. Gray at the temples now. Lighter, like he'd lost weight, but not in the healthy way. Like gravity had worn him down and time decided to take interest. He was holding a thermos and a manila envelope. I didn't open the door. I just said, "How did you find me?" He said, "Your aunt said she saw your name on a lease application when she was doing work for a rental company. I asked her not to tell your mom." That part stopped me. Not to tell your mom. He looked tired. Real tired. "I'm not here to fix anything," he added. "I just wanted to drop this off. No strings." He slid the envelope under the door. Said goodbye. Walked away without waiting for a response. I let it sit there for a good 20 minutes. Stared at it like it might explode. Inside, a letter. Handwritten. No tears. No drama. Just an explanation. Maybe the first one I'd ever gotten from him that didn't involve shouting or slamming doors. He wrote that when I left, he figured I'd be back eventually, because everyone always comes back. But the longer I stayed gone, the more he realized I might have actually meant it. That maybe I had grown something stronger than a need to be loved. Maybe I'd grown self-respect. He wrote about things I didn't even think he remembered, like how I used to draw in the basement during family dinners, or how I flinched every time someone said my name. He admitted he laughed when Mom made those jokes because it was easier than standing up to her. And he ended it with, "I don't deserve to ask anything of you. But if you ever want to talk, just talk, I'm here. No request. No favor. No guilt. Just a space." I sat with that letter for a while. Didn't cry. Didn't rage. Just sat. Because in that moment, I wasn't sure what hurt more, what he'd done back then, or the fact that this was the most honest he'd ever been with me. A week passed. I didn't respond. Not because I didn't want to, but because I didn't know how. What do you say to a man who ignored you your whole life and finally notices after the damage is done? Still, that letter sat on my desk. Unread again, but never thrown away. Just there. Like a ghost politely waiting for a second chance. Then, one evening Thursday, I think I hosted dinner. Just a couple of friends. People who'd shown up for me without asking for anything in return. We laughed, passed around cheap wine and paper napkins, and played a terrible trivia game that ended in more groaning than answers. I stood at the sink after, washing dishes, when one of them, Cass, asked, "Do your folks ever visit?" I paused. Said, "Not really." "Why not?" I dried a plate and said, "Because I stopped knocking on a locked door." She didn't push. Just nodded and said, "Their loss." After they left, I walked over to my bookshelf and pulled out that old photo again. The one I trashed weeks before. I'd fished it out later, part of me still not ready to completely let go. Stared at it now with new eyes. There we were, posed at that long oak dining table. Everyone smiling, forks midair, the light catching on crystal that only came out for guests. And me, slightly blurred. Like I'd moved while the shutter clicked. I didn't look unhappy. Just detached. And I realized something. I'd spent years waiting for someone to pull out a chair for me at that table. But I'd build a new table now. Smaller. Warmer. Mismatched chairs and second-hand plates. But it was mine. And more than that, it was full of people who saw me, not what I could give. So I made a choice. I pulled out my phone. Found my dad's number from the envelope. Texted. "If you ever want to come to my table, the door's unlocked. One condition, no pretending. We talk for real or not at all." 2 dots appeared. Then stopped. Then started again. He wrote back. "I can do that. No begging. No strings. Just agreement." He showed up 2 weeks later. No warning. No fanfare. Just a knock on the door again, midday on a Sunday. I opened it, this time without hesitation. He looked the same as before. Tired. Smaller. But this time he was holding nothing. No envelope, no thermos, no peace offering. Just his hands. Empty. I stepped aside. He walked in. Knew better than to touch anything. Didn't comment on the decor. Sat on the edge of the couch like he wasn't sure the cushions would hold. I made tea. Because, well, I didn't know what else to do with my hands. For a while, we didn't talk. Just the sound of the kettle, the street noise outside, and his slow breathing like he was reminding himself to keep going. Then he said something I didn't expect. "I saw the article your mom wrote. I hated it." I looked at him. "Why didn't you stop her?" He shrugged. "I haven't been stopping things for a long time. Thought maybe this time I just listen instead." That was the first time in my life I saw my father take responsibility for silence. Not action. Silence. We didn't fix everything that day. We didn't even try. There was no apology that undid the years. No big hug or dramatic music. But we talked. Really talked. About the time he missed my graduation because of a last-minute thing at the store that was actually a golf game. About the way I used to stand in the hallway listening to them laugh at my expense. About how the word family became something I stopped trusting. And he listened. He didn't interrupt. He didn't deny. He didn't try to reshape the story. He just let it exist. When he left, we didn't make plans. Didn't promise to do this regularly. He said, "Thank you for letting me come." And I nodded. As he walked down the steps, I noticed something different. He didn't look lighter, like the weight was lifted. He looked heavier, like he was finally carrying what I'd been holding for years. And that was enough. Later that night, I sat at the small table by the window, just me and a plate of leftover pasta, and thought about all the things that didn't happen. No big reunion. No apology from my mom. No perfectly stitched ending. But I wasn't waiting anymore. Not knocking. Not begging. Not calculating my worth in monthly payments or polite silence. Just sitting at the table I built. Mismatched chairs. Cracked mug. Quiet peace. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like a guest in my own life.